Hi, everybody. Welcome to another installment with Coffee with Dick and Sharon, this time with Nia. The three of us recently attended The Great Wilderness, a play centered around gay conversion therapy, which just completed its run at LA's Rogue Theater. Basically, the story is about Walt, who for many years has run a Christian gay conversion retreat in the remote mountains of Idaho. As he prepares to close down the retreat and move to a retirement home, he wrestles with doubts about his life's work. Has it done any good for anyone? Is it really Christ-like what he's done? This play prompted our after play conversation about the larger issues around homophobia, the religious right, and current efforts to repress people's sexuality. Sharon, Nia, what are your thoughts about the play itself and about those larger issues?
Okay, so I'll jump in. The play was okay, but I was actually much more interested in talking about the larger issues, and the three of us, have had several conversations. Most recently, one piece of entertainment that I was introduced to by talking to a friend of ours, Mario Solis Marich, who encouraged me to watch on Hulu, God Forbid, a sexual scandal that brought down a dynasty. And it's the story of a pool boy who meets the Falwells, Rebecca and Jerry Falwell Jr., and gets deeply involved in a sexual relationship with Rebecca and Jerry Falwell Jr., who at that time was the leader of Liberty University, does this thing called cuckold. I didn't actually, I'm going to tell you, Nia, I had never even heard of that. So, you seem to know something about this.
Yes, ma'am. Much more common stream term these days. Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't, for people who haven't seen this movie, which was fantastic, it was just released last week. It's on Hulu. Again, God forbid, a sexual scandal that brought down a dynasty. What it shows is the hypocrisy of the leadership of some of these very large organizations, institutions, in this case, Liberty University, which is the largest Christian university. They have a bunch of rules that the students are supposed to follow, rules that they say are biblical. I am a Christian. I'm not ashamed. I will come out and say that. I believe that if we follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, this country would be a much better place to live. But I also know enough about the teachings of Jesus Christ that he doesn't talk about abortion. Jesus does not mention critical race theory. Jesus has nothing to do with or talk about homosexuality. So
He was kind of tight with Mary Magdalene.
well, anyway, I only speak what I know, and I'm very interested in the red letter, the red letters of the Bible. So this business of Don't Say Gay, which is happening right now in Florida, Ron DeSantis, who has obvious plans for running in the 2024 presidential election, is priming himself so that he can appeal to the far right white Christian nationalists. I'm very careful when I say white Christian evangelicals. White is a very important descriptor here, because you will find that Christians that are of people of color are generally not engaged in this effort of suppressing people's civil rights. So that's what I got to say about it.
Do you have thoughts, Nia?
Yeah, I think there's like Sharon was saying, there's a very obvious and consistently repeated hypocrisy among Republican leaders, and particularly these white evangelical leaders, where they spout rules and ways that they feel we should live by that are quote unquote biblical or based on the Bible. And at some point, they're part of some scandal that goes completely opposite of what they were saying. And it happens again and again and again. And I think one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was how homophobia focusing in on homophobia specifically, is used as cover for homosexuality and being homosexual or having homosexual tendencies. And I've always found it interesting that these Republican leaders and these white evangelical leaders seem to choose this hill to really die on. I mean, really digging their heels in and choosing this to be their mission in life. And yet I would argue, and we can speculate, but I would not be surprised to find out that most, if not all of them, are homosexual themselves, or have these thoughts or have these curiosities, and that fear of having these thoughts and having these beliefs about themselves drives this homophobic rhetoric that they then spread, even though they themselves are homosexual, or perhaps have these not square cut ideals about sexuality and have these other preferences, like this cuckold situation from this movie on Hulu. That does not fall within the box of what's accepted in
Well,
Christianity.
certainly not at Liberty University.
Yeah.
Definitely out of the box. But I mean, you know, when you talk about politicians, one politician that comes to mind for me is Larry White Stance Craig. So he was a congressional representative of which state was he in?
Idaho.
Oh, Idaho, right. So I'm thinking
Where
that
the
was
play
like,
was.
all right, so I'm thinking that must have been about a dozen years or so ago when he was soliciting homosexual sex with people in the bathroom, the men's room.
Cruising is this word of the
That's
day.
called cruising.
Cruising.
Yeah, you gotta teach me some
I'm
things.
here all day for the terms and updates. Here all day.
And if that's what you do, more power to you. But for me, the hypocrisy comes in when you're a congressional representative who then tries to champion the most stringent anti-gay legislation when you yourself are engaged in homosexual activity. You want to stay in the closet, cool, that's fine. But then you try to do whatever you can to make the lives of homosexuals in your congressional district as difficult as possible.
Yeah, so there's 2 points. One, the cynicism of the politicians. I think most politicians, most people in Washington, D.C. have gay people on their staff, gay friends, and yet to win votes, they pretend to be anti-gay, because on a generational level, people my age, when I grew up, people were less accepting of gays and lesbians, LGBTQ people. So that's a way to get the older vote, and older people tend to vote. Nia's point about, I've read articles about many times the individuals who are rabidly homophobic, it's oftentimes has some, because they're covering up their own urges.
Yeah, right. Well, if we look at DeSantis, I'm very cynical about why he's choosing this hill to die on. It's clear that he's done enough polling and he understands that in order to appeal to a certain demographic, he needs to take the position that he's taking in preparation for his 2024 presidential bid. And when Donald Trump was endorsed by Jerry Falwell Jr., that was the first major Christian endorsement that Donald Trump got in the 2016 presidential election, in preparation for the presidential election. And after Jerry Falwell Jr. endorsed Donald Trump, then the rest of the Christian community, far white evangelical Christian community, stood with Jerry Falwell Jr., not Black Christians, not the Latinos or the Asians. It was definitely the white evangelicals. And they stuck with Donald Trump all the way, even possibly till today. But the movie, God forbid, the sex scandal that brought down a dynasty, it shows some reasons why Jerry Falwell Jr., and I'm not going to give it away. It explains why he gave that endorsement.
So back to just briefly back to the Great Wilderness play, which was about gay conversion therapy. And we're not talking about that very much, gay conversion, because it's kind of not the issue. Repression of homosexuals and teachings and critical race theory is very much in the news. But one thing I appreciated about the play was this is a pretty odious topic to many people. The fact that, you know, there's a big divide on people who support gay conversion and more progressive
Don't
people,
point at me when you say that.
LGBT, who think it's cruel and hurtful and harmful, and has been shown to be so. You know, leads to suicide and self-hatred. The play kind of presented more an even-handed view to see that there possibly are people who support things like gay conversion and hate homosexuality, who aren't cynical like Ron DeSantis, who really have that belief. They've really bought what they understand as Christian teachings, misguided Christian teachings that, and why did they do that? I mean, a part of it is the same thing with the attack on women's reproductive rights. A certain segment of society, particularly, I would say, white men, want to control other people. They want to control the women in their lives. They don't want women to have the freedom to have an abortion and go on to life. They want women naked, I mean, not barefoot and barefoot in the kitchen, pumping out babies. They don't, for their wife, their daughter. I mean, and that's a part of it. And they want to, you know, control the sexuality of other people, and they use biblical verses to drape over it as if that excuses it. And kind of like the secretly gay person, it's because of their inner needs to control people.
Okay, well, I hope this was an interesting conversation to our listening audience. I strongly encourage anyone, they really want to understand how it is that white evangelicals came to support Donald Trump. They really need to watch that movie.
You have more thoughts, Nia?
One thought that I did have is I think a lot of the reason why these Republican leaders get away with this and using verses from the Bible to support these claims is because they know people don't actually read the Bible, or they skim it and they don't actually try to process it and understand what it was saying. And they don't take the time to find the older versions and look at the changes to the newer version. So I would say, read it, read it and try and analyze it. And because there's, even if you believe this, all these things about homosexuality, all these things, there are enough people saying that you're wrong to say, I wonder why they're thinking that. I wonder why I'm coming across so much opposition to this belief that I have that, you know, homosexuality is terrible and bad. Maybe I should look into it and not just take the word of my priest or my Republican legislature or certain news outlets that preach these sort of things, and read it for yourself and go back to the older versions of the Bible and see what the changes that were made by us humans, not Jesus or God, over the many, many years. And I challenge you to try that.
Great point. And fortunately, our Bill of Rights has a right to freedom from religion.
Yeah.
I will say, as a final note, our friend Eric Gordon wrote a very nice, long, lengthy review of the play that will be in the notes for this meeting. So this is going to be a regular thing for us. We like to go to plays together. We've done it a half a dozen times. I suggested a new play that I'm waiting for a response from the two of you. And after that, we'll have a conversation. So thank you very much. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nia.
Bye, guys.